Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in back-to-back weeks of the TFA Prop Talk Show. In case you haven't heard, in case you're unaware, the NFL draft is right around the corner. It's here, man. We are almost, Tom.
It is? Oh,
almost. We're almost there.
Wow. I'm very excited. I'm very excited about it.
I'm excited about the draft in general. I'm excited to finally have like actual landing spots to talk about, and enough of like the speculation and all the mocks and everything. But tonight we're going to be talking about some player props. If you missed the show last week, we went over every single team and their win totals. So you can go check that out. Hit on a couple of those. We'll have some other content coming out as far as that goes. But like I said, tonight here to talk about the player props for the NFL draft. We are looking at DraftKings and basing all of our picks and our odds off of their site. So, Tom, I'm going to give you the floor, buddy. Why don't you go ahead and hit us with the first one?
All right. Real quick, our boy Robbie is probably married by now, unless Alex wised up and decided to leave. So his over under on getting wrecked, I'd put the odds at like minus 167.
Oh, I thought we were gonna go like real dark and go like give the over under on how long he stays married.
Oh, well, we don't have to go that dark. No, there's a bunch of over unders we could do, but yeah, okay, we'll just go wrecked. But I do like Jaylen Waddle to be under 11.5. That's at minus 125. I also like him to be drafted first between him and Javonte Smith. Waddle is favored at minus 167 for that. You guys know how much I love Jaylen Waddle. The NFL is going to feel the exact same way. Teams are constantly enamored with big playability, and he's the most explosive player in the draft. And the other thing, aside from fantasy football, he's going to do so much more for an NFL team as opposed to fantasy, because he can open up the field for other wide receivers. He's going to hit those long plays. He can be used as a punt returner, as a kick returner, and he's just a stud. So I think the other thing, there's a bunch of teams in the top 11 that do need wide receivers. So you have the Dolphins. The Bengals could take Chase, although I think they're better off going Penei Sewell. The Lions have no one at wide receiver. It's actually amazing. So if they don't go QB, I could really see them going wide receiver there. The Panthers they're also a sneaky play at 8. I think they're probably going to go offensive lineman, but if they really like a wide receiver, they could go there. And then the Giants sitting at 11. I think Philly could trade up to get Jaylen Waddle if they think that all three wide receivers are going to go. I think all three of those big wide receivers are going to go in the top 12. So if they have a preference between Waddle and Javonte Smith, I could see them jumping up. And if Javonte goes before Waddle, or Waddle goes before Javonte, I think they're not going to take a chance. They're going to try and jump the Cowboys and the Giants just to get up there and solidify that wide receiver position.
Yeah, not an official pick by me, but I do like Javonte Smith to fall out of I think his over-under was like 11.5.
He's 11.5 as well.
I would take the over on that one. I think there are going to be some teams that just see that $1.66, and can you play him out at X? Do you have to put him in the slot? Can you play him at Z? I think because of that, like even though teams knew, just like with Ruggs last year, everyone knew he was fast. But then he comes out and runs a fast 40, and they double count it, and that pushed him up. You know what I mean? I think the same thing could happen with Javonte Smith, even though NFL teams know that he was like 170 pounds, and that's what he was playing at. I still think that could cause him to fall a little bit. So I do like the Waddle call there.
His over is favored. I got to bring it up real quick. Sorry. Where are you, Javonte? So his over is minus 130 and his under is plus 105. So the odds say he's going to fall out of the top 11. And I think his backstop is going to be at 12 with the Eagles. So I was actually thinking about having him go over 11.5 as well. But again, I think he goes at 12. So I think they made that number really well.
Yeah. So for my first one, I have 3 picks, and they are all on the defensive side of the ball. The first one I'm going to start off with, I really don't need a lot of analysis to go with. I just think it's a really good number, and that's Patrick Surtain to be the first defender drafted, and that's sitting at minus 125, which I was kind of surprised to see. I thought it'd be more along the lines of like a Penny Sewell being the first lineman draft, and I think that's sitting at like minus 300 or 500 or something like that. So I was surprised to see Surtain only at minus 125. And as long as you can get that line, I am smashing that. I really don't see who else is going to jump him. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Parsons kind of falling out now. I guess he has some off the field character issues or history background with him. So he's, not necessarily even being locked in as the first linebacker. I don't see JOK going over him. I don't see Horn being drafted ahead of him. So Surtain at minus 125, that one just feels like like almost a lock. And at minus 125, I would be smashing that all day.
Yeah, I think somebody might prefer Horn because of how physical he is, but I think that's the only shot at somebody overtaking him because, again, you have Denver needs corner help. The Cowboys, they're at 10.5 as well. I believe the over under on him is 10.5. So a Cowboys draft 10. So I really like that.
Yeah, so he's I think it's at minus 159 for his over under. Or you could just take first defender at minus 125. Like, I don't understand why you would take that over under when you can just take first defender. And I think Horn is sitting at 12.5 for his over under.
Yes, he is. So everybody, they have all these over-unders basically around the Eagles as far as corners and wide receivers. With Surtain, he's favored to go first, and he's only minus 125. So like you said, I don't understand. That's a weird odd for me.
Who you got next?
All right, so this is a name I'm probably going to fuck up. Elijah Vera Tucker. How'd I do?
There you go.
All right. So his over-under is 15.5. I think he's going to go under that. I also like him to be drafted before Christian Darrisaw. That's at minus 112. So teams that can use an offensive lineman in the top 15. You have the Bengals. I think they're going to go Sewell. The Panthers, they could go Slater. And then you have the Cowboys, the Giants, the Vikings. I think the Vikings are a logical spot for them. The Chargers are another one. I think they could go there. If a wide receiver falls, I think they have a difficult decision as far as the Chargers and the Bears, but I think the Bears would probably have to trade up to get him. So the 4 latest mock drafts over at the Draft Network have Vera Tucker going before Darrisaw, and typically he's going in the top 15. I like the under. I like the under a little bit more than the matchup with Darrisaw because a team might see Darrisaw and just say, okay, he's a left tackle. We really want a left tackle. But I think, Vera Tucker's versatility gives him an advantage over him because he can play inside. He played left tackle at USC, so he can play there. He's mean. He's nasty. He could be an all-pro left guard, or he could be a Pro Bowl left tackle. Who knows? He was dominant everywhere he played. So he's a guy I think that you can draft and then figure out later on where he plays. So if you have a left tackle or you have a guard or you have injuries, you can slide him wherever. So that's big for a lot of teams as far as that versatility. So that's why I like him going in the top 15.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how many linemen. I'm just excited about everything in general. Like how many linemen go, I'm just excited about everything. So it's probably going to be a common response that you hear from me. But yeah, I think that's the verses between him and Darisaw is a good one. I mean, like there were some ones that I saw on DraftKings that like I felt like I clearly leaned one way or the other, but that one I think is one of the closer ones. We have Walito rocking with us per usual as always, and he's asking how do the draft props work. So I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can go. The ones that we've just been talking about have been certain spots, so over under their draft position. You can do, to certain teams. I have one coming up that's about a position group in the first round. You can do.
So the other thing, the under, you have to make sure you pick the correct one. If you take the under 15.5, that means he's going in the top 15. Correct. So he's not going below that. That's some people like to, they screw that up a little bit.
Yeah. There's a lot of different routes you can go, but with the over-unders, like Tom just said, under is they're not going to surpass that draft position, that draft spot. The next one I have falling in line with that is cornerback from Northwestern, Greg Newsome, under 24.5. I mean, you're looking at obviously we're in a pass first league, you know what I mean? Pass happy offenses. I think 3 wide receiver sets were used on 65% of snaps last year. So you're looking at, after Surtain and Horn, he could be cornerback 3, depending on how teams are going to treat Farley with his injury history. And if you look at his year last year, he was just straight up dominant. Now, granted, he didn't face, a lot of, stiff competition from wide receivers, but he allowed just 12 catches for 93 yards. And that with all that ended up being was a 31.7 passer rating allowed per PFF. There is a site out there. Let me make sure I get this correct. NFL mock draft database.com, where they scrape all the mock drafts and kind of give, you can look at a consensus big board, consensus mock drafts, everything like that. And over the last 2 days worth of mock draft data, there have been 25 mocks, and he has only fallen 25 or later in 6 of them. And whenever you're looking around that, that range, 24 and higher, you're looking at the Steelers, Jets, Titans, Colts, and Bears. All of them could use a corner. I think the Steelers are probably the least likely. And kind of seems like there is a lot of steam picking up for Najee Harris at the Steelers' first round pick would just be absolutely stupid. But I digress. We're not going to talk about that right now. But let's say the Jets go Najee, and the Colts and the Bears both have offensive lineman needs, and there's now all of a sudden there's not anything sitting there for the Steelers in terms of need. I mean, I could see a scenario where Newsome goes there because outside of Hayden and Cameron Sutton, they literally have nothing at corner there. They just they let Steven Nelson go. Their slot corner just signed with Cincy. Hilton just signed with Cincy, I believe. So they literally have nothing. So like I said, Pittsburgh is probably the least likely, but I could see a scenario where that ends up, he does end up falling there depending on what happens in front of them. But like I said, then you have Jets, Titans, Colts, Bears. All of them have needs a corner as well. So Newsome under 24.5 is another line that I like.
Yeah, I actually like that a lot. El Jefe's checking in here saying Etienne's the first running back off the board and to lock it in. And to tell you the truth, I think that's who Miami goes with. I think they take Etienne over Najee. I think he's a little bit of a better fit. I think the home run hitter, that's kind of what they want. Kev is also saying Trey Lance at 3, lock that in. That's bold.
I wouldn't go as far as to say lock it in, but I do think he is a legitimate choice at 3 for Sam. I think he's a nice dark horse pick that doesn't really seem to be getting a lot of it wouldn't surprise me. I just wouldn't go as far as saying lock it in.
Yeah, so if you look at the third overall pick, Mac Jones is favored at minus 167 now. That was Justin Fields. That's just flip-flopping at this point. Fields is at plus 250 and Lance is at plus 300. So it's a nice dart throw if you want to, those odds aren't bad. I think Trey Lance is – honestly, I think all three quarterbacks are decent fits. Kyle Shanahan's going to turn him into, a very good quarterback, so I think that's perfectly fine. My last pick, before we get to some fun stuff, is I'm sticking with corner, Asante Samuel Jr., and he's under 37.5. You went over some of the teams that need corners. There are a lot. Buffalo, Arizona, Atlanta, Green Bay, New Orleans, Seattle, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Washington, basically the entire damn league. That is what it is. Like you said, the three wide receiver sets are the way that it's going now. I think he's going to be the fifth corner off the board behind Surtain, Horn, Newsome, and Farley. He can play inside and outside. He sees himself as an outside. I think he's an outside, but he has that versatility to slide inside. He's a much better tackler than his father, thank God, because if you remember his dad, he would basically just olay and move out of the way. It was pathetic. But he's got the ball skills of his father, so that's very good. So the Eagles draft at 37, so that's a good spot as far as the over-under, because if they go wide receiver, which what I think they're going to do in the first round, then that corner position is a logical pick in the second round. So I think getting him in the second is a natural fit, and all those other teams need corners, so he could sneak into the first round. So I really like that one.
Yeah, and then whenever you're looking at some of those other, you routed off a lot of those teams that are in the back half of the first after Pittsburgh, and then even at the top of the second, you're looking at teams like Jacksonville, Jets, Falcons, I guess not the Dolphins. I mean, they could probably use some depth, so maybe he could be a fit there. But then, like you said, you have the Eagles coming in at 37. So I think I was looking at the positional first round over-unders, and it was at 4.5. And at first I was thinking under, but then I saw a lot of Samuel has been getting a lot of hype to go in the first round. So I think that's a pretty safe bet for him at 37.5.
And you could also see a trade to jump up in front of Philly to make sure that they get him. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's the other thing whenever we're talking about these draft positions. There's going to be a lot of movement, I think, especially at the back half of the first and the beginning of the second, because there's just going to be a lot of talent that's left over. We got Joe H joining us again. More than 2 QBs in the first 4 rounds. Hot take. Hey, calm down, buddy. Pump the brakes. Let's, this is a family show. We're not trying to get too crazy here. But what I think the line is at 5.5, right?
It is 5.5 in the first round.
It's like minus 500 or something for the under.
Like
yeah.
For the under. Yeah.
I don't see there's really no chance that Trask or Mills goes in the first, right? We're not going to see.
I don't think so.
Okay. I've seen some talk, especially around Mills. I've seen a lot of hype with him, over the last 2 weeks, especially. All of a sudden he came out of nowhere and was where's this coming from? But my last one, like I said, all on defensive side of the ball. I'm going under 4.5 linebackers drafted. That's sitting at minus 177. Obviously, we have the 3 locks with Parsons, JOK, and Zaven Collins. I think Davis from Kentucky could work his way into the first round. There's going to be a lot of teams that love his athleticism. He had a 90th percentile speed score, 99th percentile burst score, but we're still one short, and I really don't see who that other guy is going to be to make it.
Nick Bolton?
You're just saying that because Kev's in the chat. I
like Nick Bolton.
You're sucking up. It's not a good look.
I forgot that he even. Do I ever suck up to Kev? Jesus,
it's not a good look. I'll just say that.
No, Jamin Davis, Jamin. He's
Yeah,
another one who was
he would
getting
be.
some.
Yeah, that's the one who I was talking about. He could be the other one, but like that, like we're still one short. Like maybe Bolton. I think there's a kid from Ohio State, maybe Barron. I think that's the kid from Ohio
Yes,
State.
Baron
Um,
Browning.
but I still don't see one of those. Top of the second, sure. But I was seeing a lot of. I can't remember what it was, but I know people like Bolton, but I'd still be surprised to see him go in the first. So, like I said, -177, not great, but
So
like I said, I'm struggling to see that fifth guy. So I think under 4.5 is pretty safe.
so here's the tricky part though, because whenever you talk about linebackers, you talk about edges as well. So if it's a 3-4 and you have a guy like Aziz Ojulari go to a 3-4 team, they might list him as an outside linebacker.
True.
Same thing with like Jason Owa, guys like that, where they could go in the first round and be listed as an edge linebacker. So that's a tricky one for me. But yeah, you're talking inside linebackers. It's tough.
Yeah. That's a good point. I probably should have thought about, but hopefully they either list them as edge or what I mean. They don't get that linebacker designation.
Right.
Do you want to move on to the exact fits now?
Yeah. So exact outcomes. This is for the 3, 4, and 5 pick. This is a pretty cool one. The odds are a lot better, so you have to predict the 3rd, 4th, and 5th picks exactly correct. I put 4 down that I like. So you could go, I think, Jones, Fields, and Penei Sewell at +800. I have Penei Sewell going 5th in all of these. I don't have Jamar Chase going. I don't understand why they would do that, especially because they can get a good wide receiver in the 2nd round. And Burrow basically died last year anyway. The other one, Jones, Kyle Pitts at 4, and Penei Sewell. Again, that's +400. And then change it up. Fields, Trey Lance, and Penei Sewell at +2,200. That is my favorite one out of all of them. It pays out by far the best. And then Fields, Pitts, and Sewell. But I actually really like that Fields, Lance, and Sewell. I think if San Francisco passes on Mac Jones, I think he's going to fall a bit. I think he's top. He might fall out of the top 10, man.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see it. I think a team like New England might trade up from 15, like if that starts to happen. I mean, maybe move up from like 15 to 9 or wherever. Maybe 8, where Carolina is picking. I could see a move like that. While Lito's with you, he likes Fields, Pitts, and Sewell. The one you mentioned was one of mine. I only put 2 down. The one you mentioned at +2,200 with Fields, Lance, and Sewell is one I have. And the other one that I have was Fields, Lance, and then Chase. And that is a +1,800. I get why you would take Pitts at 4, right? The dude's a unicorn. He's a freak, absolute stud. But I just don't think that with the way that this roster is constructed with Atlanta, that they like that almost feels like a luxury pick to me. Like I get it. It's a stud, absolute freak show, deserves to be taken there. But with Atlanta, if you look at them next year, they only have 22 players under contract for 2022. And even though they only have 22 players under contract, they only have like $6 million in cap space, which like boggles my mind. Like how are you only fielding half a team? So like they're not going to be able to go out and get a bunch of. And I know like for a lot of these teams like KC and some of these other like Tampa Bay, they're like the cap doesn't matter. But not every team is able to do what those teams have done. I mean, you look at a team like the Steelers, who are apparently going all in for one more year, and they haven't been able to figure that out. They haven't made a lot of additions free agency wise this year. taking one more ride with Ben. So I just don't think that they can take Pitts at 4. So to me, I think that's either Trey Lance if he doesn't go 3 to San Fran, or it's a trade down. And I don't think anyone's going to be trading up to 4 to take Pitts. And because of that, you can also take the first non-quarterback taken. And I prefer Chase and Sewell at plus 300 over Pitts, and I think he's sitting at like minus 121 because I think the 4 spot is where that could happen. I mean, the 5 spot is where that's going to happen if it's not Pitts at 4, and I think that's either Chase or Sewell. And like the more that I'm thinking about it, I do think it's going to be Chase going to the Bengals. I think it should be Penny. Like I think that's what they should be doing, but maybe in their minds because they're going to be picking at the top of the second. And there's still going to be a lot of offensive line talent, like maybe not as good as Penny, but maybe they're thinking with Jonah coming back, with Reef at right tackle, that like maybe they could wait and like maybe a Cosme or a Wyatt Davis, somebody like that ends up falling to them, in the second.
On that flip side, though, look at the wide receiver talent.
I think there's a bigger gap from Chase to the second round wide receiver than there is from Penny to the second round lineman.
I don't know. I mean, Chase is a monster, but so is Penny.
And this is a okay. So maybe not plus 4,000. It's still plus 2,500 for this one. And shout out to Walito and Kevin for coming through with the super chats. We appreciate both of you for doing so and being so kind. But Lance, Fields, and Sewell at 5 is plus 2,500. So that's another one that I do like.
Yeah. Here's another one. Fields, Mac Jones at 4. So who knows, maybe they like Mac Jones. Atlanta are a team trading up. And then Kyle Pitts at 5. That's plus 6,600. I don't love it, but you put $5 on it and you're paying out a good amount. Right?
Man, I'm so excited to see what happens starting like I just want like absolute chaos. Like no matter what happens. Like I hope that, the Jags come out and Kev, I was just looking for
They do. It's plus 2,000. Lance, Fields, Chase, you said?
Oh. Yeah.
Yep, plus 2,000.
I thought that one would be a little bit higher. So I was looking toward the bottom and I didn't see it. I mean, I like that one too.
Yeah.
I do think Lance is a dark horse at 3, like I said, but I can't see San Fran because I don't think even in the Shanahan system, like I don't think that they're obviously in a window with with that defense, with the offense as constructed. I don't think that they can take the luxury on the I do think Lance needs to sit and develop for a little bit. So I think somebody like Fields makes a little more sense where he can kind of just step right in. I think even in the Shanahan system, Lance could take some time to, to figure everything out because he is like, there's not a lot of collegiate tape on him. And even the reps that he does have, obviously he's playing at a lower competition. So I think Fields makes more sense there for a team that's in the situation that they are, which is why I think Lance at 4 to the Falcons to sit behind Matt Ryan for, a year or two even to sit in that Arthur Smith offense and kind of get used to that, get developed, really learn the ins and the outs. I think it would make more sense at 4 or for whoever ends up trading up.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Trey Lance could go 3. I just have him as the 3rd most likely one to go there. Now, again, it's funny because so Mac Jones is the favorite to go at 3, but if he doesn't go at 3, like I said, I think he's not going at 4, I don't think.
Do you know what his over under is off the top of your head?
I don't know if that's actually on the board.
Okay.
Yeah, that might be. No, he's
Yeah, I'm not
not.
seeing it either. I thought
He's not
maybe
on
they
the
would have it.
board.
And Lance is
Jamar,
what? Lance is
what?
sitting at 6.5.
Yeah, I actually like the Lance one at 6.5. I thought about doing that. Justin Fields is at 4.5 as well. So that's an interesting one. They think they're going to go there. Sewell is at 6.5 at -129. So I actually like that one a bit. And any more that I like?
You brought this one up in the TFA chat, and I want to throw this out here because Kev never responded to in the chat. But you threw out Javonte Williams at 42.5. He's sitting at -112 on both sides, the over and the under. Do you have a good feel with Williams there?
So I think there's going to be. I think he's the third running back off the board there. At 42, you're looking at the Giants. I think, that's if both running backs go and Pittsburgh doesn't take one, I could see them jumping up into the early second round to try and take one. I'm not sure. Miami is at 36. The Jets are at 34, but I think they're the two most likely teams to take one in the first round, aside from Pittsburgh. Who knows? You could see Jacksonville ruin all of Kev's dreams and take Javonte. That would be something. That would be something. San Francisco's at 43. I think that would be a fun fit. I could see that happening. So I don't have a great feel for it, but I think it's likely going to be the under, because if you're a team that needs a running back, I think you're going to have to trade up to get him. So that puts a lot more teams at play, because I think at worst, Etienne goes at 36 or Najee. I think that's their absolute lowest that they're going to go. 36 is where Miami drafts. So if they pass on both of them in the first, you have the Jets at 34, Atlanta at 35. I mean, they could use a running back. And then Miami at 36. So I think 2 will go before then, and then you're just looking at, a team trading up possibly.
Kevin Steele coming through with the inside information with Shanahan meeting with Lance's parents. Went straight up meet the Fockers on this one.
Right? Kev's got a drone outside of Trey Lance's parents' house. This is interesting. Okay.
Back to Williams real quick. I was looking at that, and it's interesting. Obviously, teams have the chance to trade up, around that 40 spot. But like if he doesn't go like around that area that you were talking about with Jets, Falcons, Dolphins, I mean, the Eagles sitting at 37, not taking one. Bengals at 38, not taking one. Panthers at 39, not taking one. I mean, maybe the Broncos at 40, like if they want to get somebody behind Melvin Gordon to add to that offense with the weapons they have. But then the Lions at 41, not taking one. The Giants at 42. Right. So, like, if he doesn't go, like, kind of like in those top, like, 4 picks in the second round, like, we could see him slip, you know what I mean? Obviously, unless someone trades up, just with the way that everything's sitting now. That's just not one that I had a great feel on.
Right. I don't either. But I think it's an interesting one either or. Another one, Rashad Bateman at 27.5. So Baltimore just traded for that, or they have the 27 pick, correct?
Yeah, 27 and 31 now.
Right, so they have 27 and 31, and you have the Titans, I think, are a logical spot for them. You could see Washington go for them. If Miami possibly wants a wide receiver, if they don't go wide receiver at 6, I think they will, but then that's another one. Maybe the Colts. But there's a lot of spots right before 28 that could use Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, I can't remember what podcast it was I was listening to, but they were talking about Bateman, like in whatever site they were looking at, was setting it like 40 something. I feel like so I was just like, oh, we're gonna have so much to talk about. And then I pulled up DraftKings and it was a 27.5, and I was just like, what? that's just wild. Yeah. Like it makes no sense to have that big of a difference.
That's crazy.
But any other ones you want to rattle off here? We good to wrap up.
Let me look real quick. The players to be drafted first. So you have Parsons versus J.C. Horn. I think Horn's going to go there. That's minus 167. David Mills or Kellen Mond, I'm not touching.
No, I'm not touching any of the quarterbacks past the top 5.
Right. So Farley and Newsome, that's a matchup. And Farley's at minus 150 and Newsome's at plus 120. So
yeah, I did see that, and I think Farley's over-under is at it's either at 20.5 or 21.5.
Yeah.
And like I said, obviously I took Newsome as one of my picks at 24.5. So they're sitting right there. And I like if you want to, if you want to get the better odds, kind of like what we were talking about with Surtain as the first defender, maybe you just take that matchup and you take Newsome over Farley. I just don't know how many teams are going to be willing to take Farley. I think he had like an ACL tear. He dealt with back spasms the previous year. Then obviously this year he ended up getting the back surgery. I don't know how many teams are going to be willing to take a top 20 pick on him.
Yeah, I agree. Another one, you have Travis Etienne or Javonte Williams. Etienne's favored at minus 200. And then you have Rashad Bateman or Kadarius Toney. Bateman's at minus 177, and Toney is at plus 140. So they think Bateman there. And I think, again, I think there's going to be at least the 4 wide receivers go in the top 27, and I think Bateman's at wide receiver 4 that's going to go. So one other one, the odds aren't great. Total Alabama players to be drafted in the first round. That's over 5.5 at minus 200. So you have Surtain, Mac Jones, Waddle, Devonta Smith. I like Barmore, and then one of the offensive linemen as far as like Dickinson. Who am I missing?
Leatherwood. Harris.
Leatherwood. Yeah, Najee's the other one. So there's a lot of options there. I actually really like that one too. Doesn't pay out great, but it'll pay out enough.
I saw that one initially. I was like, ooh, the under. Like same thing like you were doing. I was like thinking about some of the names, and then I went and looked at a list, and then it was just like all like started clicking. I was like, okay, I'm not going under.
I made a huge mistake.
Milk was a terrible choice. Yeah. We were talking. You were talking about Bateman to the Titans, and Joe brought up the point of they want a receiver who's a decent blocker. Tremble is Kev's boy for tight end. I think if in terms of a blocker, obviously with AJ Brown playing on the outside, I think that guys who are like decent blockers, I think that Amon-Ra St. Brown could make some sense to play the slot in that offense. And then somebody like De'Ami Brown. I don't want De'Ami Brown to go there. Like I want him to go somewhere that's a little sexier because he is my guy. But he's a good blocking receiver as well. Bolito brought up Smith going before Waddle at plus 133. And then Kev is saying he thinks there's a chance Waddle is the first wide receiver off the board, which is reminiscent of Ruggs. And if you like that, I think Waddle is at plus 700 to be the first wide receiver off the board. So, Kevo, go lay a couple American dollars on that one.
Right. So I brought that up in our chat a couple days ago, and Kev was like, "Yeah, no, I think there's definitely a chance." And then the other thing is, we're hearing rumors about the Dolphins really liking Jaylen Waddle. So Jaylen Waddle, what if he goes before Chase to Miami? Who knows, man? And then they have Fuller and Jaylen Waddle there, so that's a lot of speed. And also, Jaylen Waddle
dare.
is not Henry Ruggs as far as how he plays, but as far as being the first wide receiver off the board, okay.
I was just going to say, don't you dare forget about Albert Wilson.
Who?
I wish he was still with KC. I wish KC would have kept him. We would see him producing more than Mecole Hardman. It's not a high bar, but the hopes for Mecole Hardman were so much higher than any expectation with Albert Wilson whatsoever. And I would guarantee it, in some twilight zone, Albert Wilson would be outproducing Mecole Hardman. Like if we were able to see that right now as is.
Yeah, I can't believe we're talking about Albert Wilson on a draft prop talk. That's all I have to say. Last one.
Our sign.
Yeah, last one real quick. A quarterback is selected with each of the first 4 picks. That's at -110. So that's a good one.
Yeah, I like that for sure. All right, guys, that is going to that's going to wrap it up. Appreciate all of you joining us. If you have not yet heard, we are going to be live on days 1 and 2 of the NFL draft for the whole thing. We have a bunch of guests lined up. Going to be doing the same thing that we did last year. Really looking forward to that. You can catch us on Twitter, Instagram. We're going to be stepping up our TikTok game. So if you're over there wasting an hour of your life at a time and not realizing what's happening, like myself, then go ahead over there and find us on TikTok at the Fantasy Authority. So for Tom, for myself, for TFA, for all of us, we appreciate it, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Draft season.